If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
I made a promise. Let me take you home.
What are you going to do?
Win.
The MCU. Wait, are we to the point where that's a sin now? Has the universe shifted on its axis and Marvel has lost the goodwill earned by a decade of hits?
Ooh, I love this question. Leo, play me in.
Absolutely fucking not.
There is no objective measure showing that the MCU has lost its goodwill with the general audience. In fact, everywhere you look, the MCU is still loved, still doing numbers at the box office, and still being rated very highly by the critics and audiences on sites that can't be manipulated by trolls. In fact, I did an entire video on this very subject, where I demonstrated that Phase 4 has been rated very highly by the fans, even through a few misses like Love and Thunder, which was also rated very highly by fans. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. More woke garbage from Disney, a very racist move, boring and uneventful, don't give Disney more of your money. The MCU at its finest, go woke, go broke. I'm sorry, I just had to read that one aloud. Comments like those are precisely the reason this video is being made. This type of sentiment is fostered here on this platform from those grifters that I was talking about, and then these people go around spreading the virus. No, not that one. Obviously, Wakanda Forever is not any of those things, nor would I call it a comedy film in the vein of Thor 4. Are you starting to get why I called Love and Thunder an aberration yet? Clearly, these films are all distinct tonally, while all fitting in the same universe. You know, like the comics.
But Birdman, what about the TV shows? I was told by Big Papa 47 on Rumble that the TV shows in Phase 4 were trash too.
I'm so glad you asked, Sock Account. Let's talk about the TV shows really quick, shall we? I ask this sincerely. What is the problem with Phase 4? The vast majority of people like the vast majority of the phase, and although there are some properties that aren't all that spectacular, isn't that par for the course for the MCU? When people point to this Phase 5 film's box office numbers, I point to the fact that Guardians 3 is also Phase 5, did gangbusters at the theaters, and was rated very highly. I'd also point out that the Ant-Man films as a whole have done poorly at the box office in comparison to other films in their phase, with each Ant-Man film only making around $500 to $600 million. So no, the only people talking shit online is the very loud minority on Twitter and a few other places. And it'll be a cold day in hell before I call Twitter X. And hell doesn't exist.
Oh sure, this creature evolved the sturdy, strong body of a horse, but kept the soft, vulnerable head of a snail so that when it runs, anything that hits its face kills it instantly. I am highly doubtful that even space evolution would give us horse cargo.
I'm only curious, but do you have many examples of horses running headfirst into things that could potentially kill it? If not, why is this sin?
My life doesn't really make sense.
Hard agree. So I guess we're done here? We can add a few hundred sins and head home? No? Well, I'm adding 10 anyway, just for making me do the work the movie already admits is done.
You padding the sin count, bro? I think you're padding the sin count.
It's been a crazy few years. For everyone.
I believe you mean half of everyone. For the other half, it's been less crazy and more, wait a second, you married my brother while I was gone?
Well, considering this is set 2 years after Endgame, half the population is 2 years into dealing with losing 5 years of their lives, so I'd say his statement is fairly accurate. I mean, imagine instantly transporting 7 years into the future, and a loved one that wasn't snapped died, and people have moved on, but you haven't, or a business you started is completely gone. Bank accounts poofed, properties lost. I mean, you think the homeless situation is bad now.
Reforestation, affordable housing, food production. She's not wasting a second.
Wait, she solved all those problems?
Scott doesn't say she's already solved all those problems, only that she's doing it. Besides, your incredulity doesn't work here. In context, Scott said she's using the PIM particle to help fix these issues. Now, I know you're a little slow, but the PIM particle can make things grow. So if you use it on a food source, you can literally solve food production and potentially end world hunger. Then when you apply this concept to model toy houses that can be built by hand, it starts to make sense.
Honestly, using Pym particles to get up to the top of the Golden Gate Bridge with your Chinese takeout is the epitome of entitlement. This is worse than Iron Man chilling and eating inside the famous donut from Randy's Donuts. You fucking entitled pricks.
Well, they are from San Francisco.
Does any of this track? Has the Scott Lang we've ever been shown displayed any kind of the self-love it takes to write a fucking memoir?
Dude, Superhead has a fucking memoir. Let's move on.
Hi, Hope. Hey, Dad.
I would have a lot more respect for this Scott's daughter as also a criminal storyline if, you know, the movie was actually about that. But instead, it's all about setting up the Kang dude, which, like, how many nights did poor Peyton Reed go home to his family sobbing about having to make the third Ant-Man movie a Kang movie?
While I agree that Kang probably should have gotten a standalone film and that it's weird he gets into it with Scott Lang of all people, I'm going to take issue with your understanding of Cassie's character. She's not being portrayed as a criminal, she's being shown as an activist. Sometimes being an activist will get you arrested, just ask Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. Her being an activist is important to her characterization and the conflict she has with her father in this film.
You shrank a cop car?
I know, right? Seems like the danger and extreme nature of that action might result in something more than a have your parents come pick you up consequence.
It's almost like she didn't get arrested for shrinking the car, but for protesting, which is what the scene actually said. The shrinking of the cop car was a different issue that she wasn't charged for because it was still in her confiscated items.
Where do they expect him to go? It's not their fault that they lost their homes in the blip.
Movie raises really interesting question about the blip and its impact on housing that neither this movie nor any after has any interest in exploring.
It literally started out stating Hope is working on affordable housing, numbnuts. You specifically addressed that very thing when you asked if she solved it.
Dad, a guy dressed like a bee tried to kill me in my room when I was 6.
That is true, but it's weird you'd use that as evidence that you should be free from all monitoring.
A hilariously blatant scene manipulation. Look, I know this movie didn't do so hot at the box office, but some of us saw this fucking thing, okay? She is not saying that line in reference to not being monitored. She said that in response to Scott saying he wants her to have a normal life.
I get it. I just think you should get to have a normal life.
Dad, a guy dressed like a bee tried to kill me in my room when I was 6. I've never had a normal life.
All right.
I have so many questions about this dumb pizza. Where did you get the tiny toppings?
It's possible they cut smaller vegetables, considering vegetables come in a variety of sizes.
Why are there more zucchini on the big pizza than the small one?
There are absolutely not. Literally count them, dude.
Why didn't you cut it before making it bigger?
Because cutting it would prevent all the pieces from growing at the same time?
And mostly, if this is possible, why aren't you using this technology to feed the homeless? Jesus did the same shit with bread and fish and people still won't shut up about it 2,000 years later.
A, we don't know if Jesus did a damn thing, considering he's a legend that is most likely a composite of other magicians and faith healers of that time period. And B, they are using it for the homeless. They explicitly state they're using the Pym particle for food production.
Are you doing this?
Actually, no. They built their own tech.
Allowing insects to develop superintelligence. Do you want to be ruled by ants? Because this is how you get ruled by ants.
And this is why I did the Avatar video first. In that video, I asked, would you kill ants even though they're nearly as social as humans are? The answer is clearly yes, making you a hypocrite on your position about displacing a society.
You know, if I had something like this when you were gone, and I could have found you.
Rubbing it in that you didn't care enough about your dad to show your genius when he really needed you.
That's not what the scene is saying at all.
How does it work?
It's kind of like that two-way radio we used to have. You send a signal down from here, and then it collects the data and it sends it back.
That's not at all how a two-way radio works. It's two distinct...
And let me stop you right there. She didn't say this is how a two-way radio works. She said it's kind of like how a two-way radio works, as in an approximation for her average intelligence father.
We should be dead.
Fair point.
Jeremy sends something he agrees with cliche.
Remember how the Ant-Man movies were fun because you got to see humans at gigantic and tiny proportions as relative to recognizable objects? This movie was like, how about we put our heroes in an environment for the entire movie with only things that the audience will have no relative size understanding of, so their powers are completely indistinguishable as interesting or entertaining.
I don't know, man. I kind of think Ant-Man fighting germs in the quantum realm to be on brand. But then again, I've actually read the comics.
Look, I'm just gonna be honest. When you put characters in an environment where literally anything can happen, like angry sun monsters and underground purple whale moles, the stakes of the whole thing go right out the window. Honestly, you could fucking kill Ant-Man in this movie, and as long as that happens here in the quantum realm, I will probably laugh if I have any emotions at all. It just doesn't matter. It's never been less real in the MCU.
As I have demonstrated many times, you believe there is only one kind of stake, and that isn't true. But your entire point is nullified considering the major stake in this movie is unleashing Kang from this realm, which is so serious, they named an entire Avengers movie after him.
I told you to stay away from here.
But you never told them why, and that's crucial. People will always be curious about the things they were warned against without explanation. It's how I got into porn, drugs, and Barry Manilow.
Did we just forget that Janet got trapped down here for 30 years? Isn't that scary enough to stay away? No? What about the time vortexes that Scott got trapped in that sent him 5 years into the future? Not ringing a bell? Seriously, who the hell needs to be told the quantum realm is dangerous at this point?
Drink the ooze.
I'm not going to tell you why for some reason, so guzzle guzzle pops.
But why explain something for which a demonstration will do? That's why they show her looking like a vampire that just bit a human for the first time. To demonstrate it's safe. You don't understand movies at all.
If this movie had been a standalone Disney film, named something bland like, say, John Carter, it would have made way less money and faced way more criticism. But because of the MCU machine, this is still a profitable film that made $500 million.
Actually, the film wasn't profitable and was considered a box office bomb. It needed $600 million to be successful, which it never reached, and it got hammered by critics. It's almost like nearly everything you say is wrong.
Where exactly are we going on this?
We're not too far from an old friend of mine.
Well, someone in this movie just answered a direct question with a direct answer.
Was that not a direct answer to the question? She said they're going to a friend of hers. Did you need his name, too?
His name is Scott Lang. He has 7 holes.
First, do you know how many holes he has by reading his mind? And second, 7? I assume you mean ears, nostrils, mouth, butt, and but what about the eyes? If you don't count the eye cavities, are you also not counting the tear ducts? Those seem at least close to the same size as the urethra, right? Also, isn't the nose really one hole with a skin flap dividing the entry? And doesn't your mouth have 2 holes, one for breathing and one for eating? Not to mention on a smaller level, every pore is a hole. The answer is probably between 5 and 5 million, depending on your definition of the word hole. The lack of due diligence here is honestly infuriating.
Cool. But did you just say that tear ducts are close to the size of a urethra? Bro, seek a doctor right now. Either your willy or your eyes are in serious trouble.
Okay, they're telling the truth.
Thinking that reading minds is the same thing as being a lie detector.
Thinking that it's not.
Holy shit. That guy looks like broccoli.
Appearance shaming.
Dude, I was there when you said the Indoraptor looks like a bitch. You have no room to talk.
Human, like us.
Human. That's the word.
You forgot a word that you never had to learn because the ooze just translated it directly to your brain? I feel like this movie stopped caring about 15 minutes before the Marvel logo appeared.
Nah, that was you. If they don't have humans, they wouldn't have a translation for that word. It's like loan words from other languages. We got tsunami from the Japanese and herb from the French. Isn't that right, British people that pronounce the H in our? Oh, right, you guys don't do that.
So what is it that brings you to us, Janet?
She literally just said,
We're looking for friends of ours. 2 of them, human, like us.
Wait, I know goddamn well you didn't just criticize Bill Murray for doing the same thing you did twice in this video.
Let them go. He just wants me.
if Janet really cared about Hope and Hank, why are they even here for this meeting? You could have come alone, you know.
How does that make any sense? She was under the impression Krylar was her friend. Why would she think to go alone to this meeting with an ally?
A mechanized organism designed only for killing?
He said that like I'm supposed to orgasm now. Should I orgasm now?
Nah, that line was for those of us that know shit about comics. Or those that played that terrible Avengers game.
The Hulk, he's not the Hulk. He's not. He's boring to play. He's awful. Like, if I punch you as the Hulk, either my fist is going through you, or if you're durable enough, you're flying the fuck back. You're not about to sit there and just tank hits from the Hulk, yo. It's the Hulk. That's his entire power. His power is strength. How the fuck are you making robots that can tank his powers?
Did I mention how much I hated Marvel's Avengers? Did I mention how much I hated Marvel's Avengers? Did I mention how much I hated Marvel's Avengers? How much I hated Marvel's Avengers? Did I mention how much I hated Marvel's Avengers?
Nice shot, but why didn't it embiggen the glass? Or the liquid molecules? Does it have a comeuppance setting we don't know about?
Discounting the odds of the shot, which probably were high anyway given Hank has been throwing these things almost his entire life, the particle most likely landed on the creature directly. It's similar to when Cap threw the water truck at War Machine, a direct hit.
That guy?
I was down here for 30 years, Henry.
Excusing infidelity due to extenuating circumstances. At least Helen Hunt thought Tom Hanks was long dead before she started doing the horizontal tender.
Dude, 30 years is an incredibly long time to be trapped somewhere. It's only infidelity if you know your spouse is still alive and that you will see them again. She probably thought she died down there or that her husband was dead up here.
If he has that weapon, why does he do so much punching?
Well, it appears to be an energy-based weapon, and it likely uses a significant amount of energy, so he picks his shots.
Our fates have always been forged together, ever since that day we met.
Apparently M.O.D.O.K actually stands for montage of Darren's positional origin story. Narration.
Spelling narration with a K.
Darren is dead! There is only M.O.D.O.K!
This is fun. I'm having fun. I'm a random film goer, and this is very fun.
That's what they said.
Mechanized organism designed only for killing. Actually, that's M.O.D.O.K.
Scott Lang would be excellent at the acronym SIN School House of Literalistic Explanations.
So CinemaSins tried to spell asshole there. The problem is that schoolhouse is one word, so he actually spelled a soul.
The multiverse, as in alternate dimensions.
No, the multiverse as in, why the f should I care about any of this anymore when I now know none of it really matters because I guess Reed Richards can be Jim from The Office and then just get annihilated as if I'm supposed to feel something about that. That multiverse.
Just like how you think the only form of stakes is death, you think the only feeling from the MCU showing and killing 838 Mr. Fantastic is happiness. Clearly, you do feel something about it because you were upset about it in the Multiverse of Madness video and you're still sore about it now. You obviously feel a negative emotion.
We tried everything to recharge his ship's energy core.
Everything? Did you try reading it some Wuthering Heights while dancing Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance? Did you try tickling it with a feather while eating a bowl of Cheerios soaked in orange juice? Did you try reverse psychology? Maybe slow your roll with the absolutes then, Janet.
It wasn't an absolute, it was an implication. In text form, an implication looks like this.
This mid-movie exposition will go on for a total of almost 10 minutes. This movie is so talky.
I'm sick of saying it, so I'll just replay what I said in the John Wick 4 video. Do you see what I mean about how the movie gives CinemaSins the rules and they still complain about not having the rules? And if this movie took the approach of actually explaining said rules, he'd whine about exposition.
So Janet is about to turn into Aunt Granny and will ultimately blow up the core of Kang's ship. But she said they tried everything to reignite the ship's core during their years of attempts, and I don't know that I believe she would have kept her ant suit thing a secret when she could maybe have used the tech to fix the core. It's a nice surprise for Kang, but she trusted him pretty fully right up until now, and I think she'd have revealed her PIM tech in case it could have helped fix the ship.
Yes, let's shrink the core. That'll definitely fix it.
Why do you think you could stop me?
Because somebody else already did, and she will, and then other people will stop you again later in this movie. For a big bad, you are actually quite stoppable.
He's a villain. I'm not sure if you're aware, but comic book villains, no matter how powerful they are, will always be written to be stopped. That's like saying here's a sin because the story will have a conclusion. Kang's a problem because not only is he powerful by himself, there are potentially infinite versions of him. It's kind of like what they did in Endgame. Thor killed Thanos, but another one popped up and was even more deadly. Imagine if Thanos kept coming back. That's Kang.
He's after the core.
How is that possible? And why? He's all-powerful, and you said you blew up the core. Suddenly the core still exists, and he can't get to it unless he gets tiny? Are you fucking serious?
Blew up is being used in the same context as, honey, I blew up the kid. So yes, that means utilizing the PIM particle is exactly what he needs to restore the core.
Because I know how it ends.
He does not.
Jeremy didn't watch Loki.
I'll do it, just let her go.
Why does Kang need Scott to go get the engine core? Are the PIM particles in the suits themselves and he can't extract them for his own use?
Yes, moving on.
Once you're inside, find the core and size it back down.
Again, I thought the core had been exploded. Is he supposed to take 10,000 pieces of exploded core and put them all back together?
And you thought that because you weren't paying attention to the exposition you always ask for but disregard. Janet used the PIM particle to blow up the core and made it unusable for Kang's machine, so it stands to reason that he simply needs the reverse to happen.
Every choice you could make existing all at once.
If that were really the case, then there would be so many Scotts appearing instantly here that they would all fuse into some monstrous Franken-Scott with millions of eyes and mouths, and this movie should really read read its own screenplay.
Well, that was a stupid assumption. I really would like to know how your brain works, because I'm assuming you got worse CTE than Antonio Brown.
Whoa, guys, hey, relax.
How the f is one of the probabilities wearing Baskin-Robbins stuff? How is that even a possibility of this branching decision tree? Is this movie even trying anymore?
Jeremy heard every choice you could make and still thought this was impossible. Sure, it's stupid, but are we forgetting that Scott is, well, idiot adjacent?
This motherfucker mastering the flying of this ship to do this is too big an ask!
Sure, if you're not paying attention to literally anything in the film. First, Hank Pym is not only a genius, he's one of Marvel's most intelligent beings in existence. Then, Janet literally told us flying this vehicle is as easy as riding a bike. I mean, put 2 and 2 together, man. And no, I don't mean 22.
I saw the multiverse, and it was dying.
From your lips to Feige's ears, Kang.
I really enjoy these minority opinions of the MCU. I really do, because they're going to make some of the finest crow when the next Avengers film does $1 billion.
Apparently, they passed through some sort of time dilation. They lived thousands of years in a single day.
Apparently? Apparently? How do you gloss over all the explanation with the word apparently?
Dude, we literally had a film where the entire concept was using the quantum realm, the Avengers were able to manipulate and navigate time to reverse the damage Thanos caused. This means it's already established that the quantum realm has time vortexes. Hank, who can communicate with ants, learned from them that they had become advanced to the point they'd created this technology. So, knowing all of that, Hank's usage of the term apparently is him making a correct inference based on available information. It's not glossing over an explanation, it's the MCU assuming you understand the mechanics of time in the quantum realm. Who the hell is watching this movie that hasn't seen Endgame?
We've got some ideas.
Did the ooze wear off? Why can't they hear the ants in English like every other creature?
Because the ooze was specifically for the inhabitants of the quantum realm and not the inhabitants of Earth? Unless you want to suggest the ooze could make you understand Italian too.
Your dad's not here, Cassie.
But I guess that's not a big surprise.
How the f does freaking M.O.D.O.K know how much Scott has been around? He's been trapped down here, right?
I guess Jeremy forgot the first Ant-Man film, a movie he sinned, where they showed that Scott was in and out of prison, something Darren literally found out.
Hey, little guy.
I always suspected you had a suit stored away somewhere, which begs the question, who is the new Ant-Man? Scott Lang, the martyr who took on the system and paid the price, losing his family and his only daughter in the process. Exactly your kind of guy, Hank.
What is the bridge code?
I'll die first.
18147.
The bridge code is 5 f***ing numbers. Are you kidding me?
Well, this is technology devised by a human being. What else would it be? It's a bridge code, not a vault with secrets and shit.
If he can be this big and this powerful for this long, why is he just doing this now?
Because this takes way more energy than just being big enough to take out that sun germ. Besides, what other instance could Scott have used this ability? I mean, think about what you're asking for.
You're huge!
We have literally zero visual context to know that this is true. I might as well just be running towards each other on a normal platform. Everything interesting about this franchise has been removed from this entry. Did Bob Barker direct this? Because they absolutely neutered this puppy.
Fortunately, they had audio context, which consists of their talking speed being slightly slowed and the echo of their giant footsteps. Plus, literally zero is literally untrue, as you see the spaceships on the ground that we saw were larger than everyone else earlier.
So he's supposed to be all powerful, and maybe he is, but he only ever mostly uses this blue laser thing from his hands, and while that looks deadly, it gets a bit boring after a while.
What does something being boring have to do with it portraying power? You just conflated 2 different concepts like we wouldn't notice. Superman gets called boring all the time, but that does not negate the idea of him being extremely powerful.
Oh no, not plasma cannon head guy. Please not him. How will I ever recover? It hurts so much.
And when presented with evidence that Kang's abilities are not limited to his own energy beams, Jeremy just ignores it like we wouldn't notice.
There's nothing in the entirety of this film that tells me why these super smart ants would be any more effective against Kang than the other waves of faceless enemies he has already mowed down with ease.
It's called numbers, Jeremy. They show you that Kang can hold them off for a while, but they simply overwhelm him with their superior population. No, not that population.
What did I do? You know what? It's probably fine.
Being honest about how little any of this actually matters.
And just like Ant-Man 2, people continue to underestimate how much of an effect the Ant-Man films have on the franchise as a whole, only this time it's really f***ing stupid because it's about Kang. You know, the literal antagonist of Phase 5 that has an upcoming Avengers movie named after him, the guy that's going to be a prominent figure in Loki Season 2, the beacon they saw in Shang-Chi. Alright, I made that last part up, but considering they still haven't told us what that was, I could totally be right? Right?
I have holes.
Yeah, boy.